Hey, what's up you guys? Today I'm doing my November TBR and I am taking part in two readathons this month. I'm taking part in indigathon, which is hosted by Michelle and Bronte, and it's all about Indigenous literature and authors. And I'm also taking part in Nonfiction November, which I'm excited to do because I have a few nonfiction books on my shelves and it's just something I never really pick up. Like, I'm interested in them, but I just never feel myself drawn to actually pick them up. So this is the perfect excuse to get them off my TBR. I will leave the information to all of the readathons down below in the description, so go check them out if you're interested in taking part. But without any further ado, let's just get started. Although I do have to say, this is more of a wish list than a 100% TBR because I think I have 11 books on this and I don't read 11 books per month. So it's like a wish list of books I want to read in November rather than 100% that is the books I'm reading. So with that out of the way, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, and let's get started. The first book for Nonfiction November is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. And I feel like everyone must know what this is, but it was Anne Frank's diary. Well, she was hiding from the Nazis in an attic during World War II. She was a young Jewish girl who sadly, her and her family got caught and taken to a concentration camp, and only her father survived. And when he came back, he discovered her diary and it was then published, and obviously it is like very well known. I've actually been to Anne Frank's house in Amsterdam, which was a really interesting experience. Very emotional experience, but it was super cool. And I have read this book before when I was really young. For some reason I used to read this quite a lot, but I haven't read it in well over a decade, so I'm excited to read it again because it's such a important time in history, and you know, it would just be nice to revisit that. That is also for the prompt time, I should say. So there's 4 prompts for Nonfiction November, and for time I thought obviously this is going back in time to World War II, so it fits in there. The second book is for the prompt buzz, and for this one I have it because I'm like buzzing, which is aka excited to read it, and that is The Infernal World of Bronte by Daphne du Maurier. And this is just a biography of Branwell Bronte, who was the brother of the 3 Bronte sisters who wrote obviously Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre and stuff, whose house I actually went to like last week. And it was such a fun experience again to visit their house, and I liked that there was a lot of emphasis and focus on Branwell there, because he's definitely forgotten about because he didn't actually publish any novels or anything obviously, but he did have a very interesting life and I'm excited to read about it. I did hear from one of the staff members when I was there that there's some stuff in this that is very contested, as there is with most biographies, especially historical ones. Daphne du Maurier, for example, wrote that one of the reasons Branwell lost a job was that he maybe had a relationship with a younger boy there, but the man in the museum said that she was kind of the first person to propose this theory, and there's not much kind of historical backing up that fact. So I don't know, I'm interested to read it anyway, and I think it'll be pretty cool. It's also not too long, which I love that. So the next book is for movement, and I have this because I moved somewhere to get it, and this is The Life of Charlotte Bronte. And I don't actually think I'm going to get to this one this month. It's almost 500 pages, and this is by Elizabeth Gaskell, who was a good friend of Charlotte. And this again is a very controversial biography because a lot of people think that Elizabeth Gaskell did not stick to the facts when talking about, for example, the father, Bronte's dad, and also Branwell. I'm pretty sure there's some stuff in this that isn't really seem to be true anymore, but I'm excited to read it anyway. I don't think I will get to this month, but I do want to get to it eventually. The 4th book for Nonfiction November is also my first book for Indigathon, and this is Rising Above Opioid Addiction, an Indigenous woman's story of childhood trauma, faith and healing, by an author whose name is Sierra, I don't know her middle name, Russell. And this is a self-published ebook which is only 79 pages. And I just think it sounds kind of interesting. An opioid crisis is a very real thing, especially in the US, not so much in the UK, but I know from listening to podcasts and stuff how big of an epidemic it is over there. And I just think it'll be interesting to read all about this Indigenous woman's life from her own, eyes. Obviously, it is a self-published book, so I don't know. I just think it'll be kind of interesting, and I like reading self-published books. So for this, I have Discovery for Nonfiction November because I'm like discovering information about the opioid crisis, which is something I know about a little bit, but not in any great detail. And then for Indigathon, I have New to You because obviously I have not read anything else by this author. Next for Indigathon, for the prompt other than 5C, I have The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich. and I read The Bingo Palace by her last year for indigathon, and I really liked her writing, but I hated the main character in that story, and actually really brought my star rating and just my enjoyment of the book down. Whenever the main character wasn't there, I really enjoyed it, and then as soon as he was on the page, oh my god, I did not enjoy his story. But I really liked her writing, so I want to give her another chance, so I'm going to read The Roundhouse, which is about a 13-year-old boy who becomes frustrated with the poor investigation into his mother's gruesome attack and sets out to find his mother's attacker. And I think that sounds really interesting, very, hard-hitting, and I hopefully will like this more than The Bingo Palace, because like I said, I really enjoyed her writing. It was just the character in that story, I could not get into it. He was so frustrating, so hopefully I like this one more. Also for indigathon, I have Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, and I just read this month The Only Good Indian, which I was going to have for indigathon, but I ended up reading it or listening to it on audiobook sooner. So I want to try something else by him, and this is like a short horror novella about a group of kids who do some magic and I'm assuming bring mannequins to life or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it sounds kind of spooky, and I really enjoyed The Only Good Indian, so I would talk about that in my October wrap up. So I want to read something else by him. Finally for indigathon, I have Other Than US, and this is The Swan Book by Alexis Wright, and this is an Indigenous Aboriginal Australian author, and it is about a woman who we follow her as a young girl living in a swamp. She's a victim of gang rape, and then her life changes as she grows up and she gets married to the first Aboriginal president of Australia. And I think that sounds really cool. I like, stories that follow either generations or someone from when they're really young to really old. I think that's really interesting. So I am looking forward to this. I've not heard anyone else talk about it. I found it myself just doing some research, but I think it sounds really interesting. So hopefully I like it. The other books I want to read this month, first of all, I have the fourth book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and this is The Shadow Rising, and this is over 1,000 pages. I have never read a book that is that long, so I'm a little bit nervous for this one. Hopefully I like it. A lot of people say that the fourth is one of their favourite books, so I'm hoping I have the same opinion. I'm just nervous because it is so long. I'm hoping I can read it in about 8 days. Normally I read about 100 pages a day, but for this one I'm going to try and read a little bit more so I can get it done within like a week, 8 days instead of 10 days. I am looking forward to it. It's just a lot of pages. Next, I want to read Legrand Milnes by Alain Fournier, and this is a French classic, and it's kind of a coming of age story about a young boy going into adulthood and having his first romance, I think. And I think that sounds interesting, but the main reason it's on this TBR is because in my unhaul video, I said I wanted to read it and then unhaul it because the edition I have is wrecked. I don't want to keep it. It's just like sitting there. It's ugly. So hopefully I do like it, but I mostly want to read it so I can then unhaul it. And then the same for The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. This is a story about a young boy who runs away with a black man in the 1800s in the American South. I think it's the South, And again, I just want to read this so I can unhaul it. I read this originally when I was like 14. We read it in school, but it's been a long time and I want to, one, read it again, but two, also just unhaul the edition I have because I don't like those editions. And finally, I have Giovannis Room by James Baldwin, which is a classic or modern classic. I'm not 100% sure what year it came out. And James Baldwin is a gay African-American author, or was, I'm pretty sure he's dead now. And Giovannis Room is about the life of an American man who moves to Paris and his feelings and frustrations with his relationships there with other men, and particularly an Italian bartender named Giovanni. And I just think that sounds quite interesting. Obviously like being a classic and by an African-American author, and obviously about a gay topic, which is kind of rare for classics. And I'm hoping I like it. I know Helen read it last month and said she didn't love it that much, but I feel like I will. It's also really short. It's only 159 pages, which, again, I've said this a few times in this video, but I love a really short book, especially because I have, obviously, The Wheel of Time being over 1,000 pages. So I'm looking forward to this, and I really hope that I do like it. Those were all of the books that I plan to hopefully read in November. Obviously, I'm not going to get to all of them because there's 11 books there, and I think the most I ever read per month is like 8 books or 9 books, so we'll just wait and see what happens. If you're taking part in Nonfiction November or indigathon, let me know what you're reading, or if you have a video, let me know and I'll go watch it. So I really want to know what other people are reading for those. And if you are not taking part, maybe consider doing it. Like I said, I'll leave all the links in the description, especially in indigathon. I know that they would love the participation, so maybe check it out. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe. It really helps on my channel, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.